Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1759B, and today's date is January 7th, 2018, and the title of the episode is Confirmed Government Was Run by the Deep State, Clock is Ticking. Before we get started, we know the Deep State is watching and monitoring. We've been listening to Q, and Q told us that 8chan is the only board Q will communicate on. 8chan allows you to post anonymously, so why don't you search anonymously using a VPN? Virtual Shield does not keep logs, will never sell your data to a third party. This winter month, Virtual Shield is offering 30% off all VPN plans and all premium add-on plans for as low as $3 per month. And don't forget about IdentiSafe, which allows the customer the ability to block off computer, microphone, and camera access. So check out the link below and start protecting yourself today, because we all have the right to remain private. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, very interestingly, the mainstream media and the deep state, they're starting to realize that Trump always had a plan with the wall. He wasn't depending on the House to vote in a $5 billion wall in their budget. He was pushing them to expose what they're really about. And they're starting to realize that there was a plan that was put into place long before this battle even started, where he was going to use a national emergency. Now, we all should think about this for a second. If Trump and Q and the Patriots always had a plan in place for the wall, do you think they have a plan for everything else? Yes, they do. It's been worked out. They have contingency plans just in case the main plan doesn't go the way they want. They're prepared for almost everything. Now, can they be prepared for everything? No. Let's be realistic here. But they are prepared enough to deal with whatever they throw at them. And we can see this is what's been happening. While the deep state, the mainstream media, has been very, very busy listening to other individuals like Bolton, or, listening to the leaker Adam Schiff, and the mainstream media creating their own narratives, making up stories. They've been so busy doing that. The Patriots in the background have been planning out everything. Now, Trump said he has the ability to declare a national emergency and build his border wall. He tweeted out the following. Congressman Adam Smith, the new chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, just stated, yes, there is a provision in law that says a president can declare an emergency. It's been done a number of times, no doubt, but let's get our deal done in Congress. Now, since the House, the deep state, realizes that Trump could use a national emergency, I wonder if they're going to say, okay, let's sit down and hash out a deal. And if they do this, this is going to be a big loss for them. If they don't do this, they're exposed not caring about the American people, and Trump will declare a national emergency and build the wall no matter what. And Trump tweeted out the following. VP Mike Pence and group had a productive meeting with Schumer Pelosi representatives today. Many details of border security were discussed. We are now planning a steel barrier rather than concrete. It is both stronger and less obtrusive. Good solution, and made in the U.S. Now, does this mean that they're coming to some type of an agreement where it's not going to be a concrete wall? It's going to be a steel slotted wall, which is fine. It does the same exact thing. And I think Trump started out with a concrete wall, and I think border security, he listened to them and said, listen, it'd be a lot easier if we had a slotted wall, because a concrete wall, we can't see through it. A slotted wall, you can see through, and you can see where they're going on the other side of the wall. And this, I do believe, is a better idea. And when you look at it from a distance, you can see right through it, so you can still see the landscape. Now, Trump is going to deliver an emergency primetime address about border wall during this shutdown. This is going to be tomorrow, which is going to be Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He tweeted out, I am pleased to inform you that I will address the nation on the humanitarian and national security crisis on our southern border Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Now, the White House has been asking the networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, and the rest to air Trump as he talks to the American people. A lot of the networks didn't want to do this. They were contemplating maybe not giving Trump airtime, which is very interesting. Sarah Sanders tweeted out, President Trump will travel to the southern border on Thursday to meet with those on the front lines of the national security and humanitarian crisis. More details will be announced soon. Now, if it was any other president, they would have cut away from whatever show was on and they would have went right to the president. Here, they're saying, well, maybe we will, maybe we won't, we don't know. Most likely, they will. And because they want to put their spin on it and try to, take what Trump is saying and play it down to what they really want. But it's just unbelievable that they had to think about it. Now, Trump is evaluating the withdrawal of U.S. troops from Afghanistan. Vice President Mike Pence is now confirming that President Trump is indeed in the process of evaluating whether to withdraw troops from Afghanistan, just like he's withdrawing the troops from Syria. Now, we talked about Syria right now. I do believe they have Bolton out there just talking and talking and talking, keeping everyone very, very busy with what he is saying. Remember back when he said that the troops are never going to leave Syria unless Iran does? It was fake, phony, and false. Whatever he's saying now is fake, phony, and false. He's put out there on purpose to keep everyone busy. This is what they all want to hear, and it shuts a lot of them up. Trump tweeted out the following. The failing New York Times has knowingly written a very inaccurate story on my intentions on Syria. No different from my original statements. We will be leaving at a proper pace while at the same time continuing to fight the Islamic State and doing all else that is prudent and necessary. Because remember, the deep state, they have always said we never want to leave Syria. And we can't leave Syria because the Islamic State is too strong. It will take years. It'll be completely impossible. Eventually, they wanted to split Syria up. And they were trying to make it seem like the troops were never going to leave. Yes, they are. It's not going to be in 6 months, 8 months, a year. They're going to be moving out very, very soon, a lot sooner than that. And they've been planning for this for a very long time. It's not something where Trump just woke up one day and said, hey, troops, let's go. No, they already have it planned. They've already moved out of certain areas. They're handing everything over to the Syrian forces, to Russia. They're setting up so the Kurds, and as we know, the Kurds are talking to Syria and Russia right now, they are set up so Turkey doesn't do anything to them. Turkey's, first of all, not going in there. Putin controls Erdogan. Erdogan is no way going to invade Syria and wipe out the Kurds while Russia is there. It's just not going to happen. So we see right now that everything is being negotiated. The troops are coming out. And the deep state, they don't want the troops coming out. And this is why they're continually putting out these fake stories. Let's move on to post 2653. And Q drops some more bread here. Starts off with capital RBG, all bold in kill brackets, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Under it says, why was she selected? Who appointed her? Remember her history. Well, who appointed her? That was Bill Clinton. Why was she selected? Well, to blend the sexes together, to write certain laws, to push the agenda of the deep state. And Q says, remember her history. Reference 230-page book called Sex Bias in the U.S. Code, published in 1977 by the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights. Highlights. Called for the sex integration of prisons and reformatories so that conditions of imprisonment, security, and housing could be equal, she explained. If the grand design of such institution is to prepare inmates for return to the community as persons equipped to benefit from and contribute to civil society, then perpetuation and single-sex institutions should be rejected, page 101. called for sex integration of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts because they perpetrated stereotyped sex roles, page 145, insisted on sex-integrated college fraternity and sorority chapters and replacing them with college social societies, page 169, cast constitutional doubt on the legality of Mother's Day and Father's Day as separate holidays, page 146, call for reducing the age of consent for sexual acts to people who are less than 12 years old, page 102, asserted that the laws against bigamous persons cohabiting with more than one woman, a woman cohabitating with a bigamist, are unconstitutional, page 195. Objected to laws against prostitution because prostitution as a consensual act between adults is arguably within the zone of privacy protected by recent constitutional decisions, page 97. Ginsburg wrote that the Mann Act, which punishes those who engage in interstate sex traffic of women and girls, is offensive. Such acts should be considered within the zone of privacy, page 98. Demanded that we firmly reject draft or combat exemption for women, stating women must be subject to the draft if men are. But she added, the need for affirmative action and for transition measures is particularly strong in the uniformed services, page 218. Wanted he, she, him, her, his, and hers to be dropped down the memory hole. They must be replaced by he, she, her, him, and hers, his, and federal statutes must use the bad grammar of plural constructions to avoid third-person singular pronouns, page 52 to 53. Condemn the Supreme Court's ruling in Harris v. McRae and claim that taxpayer-funded abortions should be a constitutional right. And Q then gave us a link to Human Events. This is Senator's Overlooked Radical Record of Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And you can read the article, but let me just read parts of the article. Hypocrisy stands at the pinnacle of the sins that liberals most disdain. So it's fair game to compare the free ride they gave to U.S. Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg with their searching the archives to pillory every word ever written by Supreme Court nominee John Roberts. Liberal commentators and U.S. senators who are salivating at the upcoming interrogations of Roberts never ask Ginsburg about her extremist views spelled out in her lengthy paper trail. The senators didn't have to do much research. I made it easy for them by publishing her words in my July 1993 Phyllis Schlafly report. And this goes on and on and on, showing that none of the senators ever asked her anything. So Q says, who are the doctors currently treating Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Well, we know that Clinton appointed Ginsburg, and she got confirmed 96-3. Amazing. Here's a little back history in her medical condition. Ginsburg reportedly fell and she fractured her ribs. During this, cancer nodules were found on her lungs, and she began treatment at Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer in New York. Thoracic surgeon Valerie Rush of Memorial Sloan Kettering Hospital was taking care of her. She's the one who removed the nodules. What other political, former, current, senior political heads are they affiliated with? Q says. What off-market drugs are being provided to Ruth Bader Ginsburg in order to sustain minimum daily function? What is the real medical diagnosis of Ruth Bader Ginsburg? Who is managing her care? Who is really managing her care? Most likely the clowns are trying to keep her alive here. The clock is ticking. It looks like she might not have that much time left. Panic in D.C. Why are they panicking? Because if she dies, and some people are saying maybe she died already, Trump will be able to appoint another Supreme Court justice. Now, and Annan put this together and pointed out who the doctors are. One we already mentioned, Dr. Valerie Rush. Another doctor is Dr. John Lazar. And there are many other doctors that are trying to help her. And we do know that the clowns, they're also involved here trying to keep her alive. The Annan also pointed to drugs. Phase 2 trial of neoadjuvant bevacizumab, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, plus chemotherapy and other drugs that are being used to keep her alive. So once again, if she does pass away, guess what? The Patriots, Trump, they can put another Supreme Court justice in her place. Now, the deep state, Clinton and the rest, must be pretty darn worried. Because if she's recovering, why did Hillary Clinton tweet this out? I'll be joining New York Governor Cuomo as he lays out his plan to codify Roe v. Wade and pass the Reproductive Health Act. There's no time to wait. Seems like they're panicking a little bit, doesn't it? Seems like they're a little bit nervous here. So another Annan put together Ruth Bader Ginsburg and the pen and the watch that we showed in last report about where Q put up the pen, the watch, and Trump was in Camp David, and said the following. Watch says 3:15. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, March 15th, 1933, 3:15. The Guardian posted about a documentary on RBG on January 3rd, 2019, preparing for her death. Is she dead already? Maybe, maybe not. But you can see they're getting very, very nervous just by Clinton's tweet. Let's move on to post 2654. Q puts up a link to Axios. Trump says appointing acting cabinet heads grants more flexibility. The article reads, President Trump told reporters outside the White House on Sunday that he's in no hurry to replace his acting cabinet secretaries with formal replacements, saying, I have acting and my actings are doing really great. I sort of like acting. It gives me more flexibility. Do you understand that? Why it matters. Trump's Attorney General, Secretaries of Defense, Interior, EPA head, and UN ambassador are all working in acting capacities, despite being Senate-confirmed positions. The appointment of Matthew Whitaker as acting Attorney General in particular came under fire as potentially unconstitutional, but we know that it is completely constitutional. Why does Trump like the acting cabinet members? Because it allows him to do what he needs to do. It allows him to bring in people that need to do a certain specific task. He doesn't need Senate confirmation. It's the Scaramucci model. Public opinion, optics, do not matter, Q says. Temps can be very dangerous to those who are targeted. So these temps that are there, they don't have to worry about the Senate being confirmed, going through questioning. They're in there for a specific reason, doing a specific job. Post 2655. Q says, how many authenticative FISA umbrella surveillance warrants targeted those who illegally targeted kill brackets are currently active? Some Annans are saying 4,000, some are saying 5,000, some are saying even more than that. Upstream collection can be very revealing. When you no longer control the levers of power, do Five Eye allies buckle and cooperate in order to preserve and maintain their future? Well, I would think so, because Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand need to cooperate right now. Because they've done in the past, they cooperated with former presidents and former clowns, and they would have a problem if they didn't cooperate with the current president. Why? Because he would let everyone know what they've done. The future will not repeat the past. The clock is ticking. Again, Q continually makes reference to this clock that is ticking down, and we can see that many things are happening all at once. Post 2656, Q puts up a tweet from Breaking 911. President Trump, I may declare a national emergency depending on what's going to happen on the next few days. Q says Annans already knew this. Q. Post 2657, Q puts up, when will the public discover that Ted Cruz was also illegally surveilled pre-POTUS R nomination? Pre-POTUS Republican nomination. CIA illegally surveilled members of Congress. And this is CIA illegally with an arrow pointing to members of Congress. This all has the arrow pointing to the next thing I'm going to say. CIA illegally surveilled members of the press. CIA illegally surveilled Senate Intel Comm. Then Q gave a link to The Guardian. A constitutional crisis. The CIA turns on the Senate. Tensions flare between the CIA and the Senate in the fight to release a report on torture, leading the agency to spy on its own legislative overseers. What Q is saying is that the CIA was spying on everyone and blackmailing everybody. Q gave us another link to the New York Times. Inquiry by CIA affirms it spied on Senate panel. An internal investigation by the CIA has found that its officers penetrated a computer network used by the Senate Intelligence Committee in preparing its damning report on the CIA's detention and interrogation program. And it goes on and on and on. Basically, what Q is saying here is that the CIA, they were blackmailing and spying on everyone. So Q says, who ordered the surveillance? What justification was provided to the authentication surveillance of elected official? Surveillance fall under scope of FISA warrant or internal department or outsourced to Five Eye. Reality check, friend or foe, we all spy on each other. Should we be spying on ourselves? Should we be tasking others to spy on ourselves in order to avoid U.S. law? Was Five Eye established and designed by the intel community as a back-channel surveillance apparatus to avoid domestic laws triggers and congressional Senate oversight? Absolutely. What they did was they had other countries spy on everyone, and they used that information. This way they can never say, hey, you're spying on us. No, it was the UK. No, it was New Zealand. It was purposely designed this way. What key logs exist to monitor Five Eye intelligence collection? Well, each country keeps a log of what they're doing. What ability do former government officials have, i.e. ability to access C-level Five Eye offshore data? How did Hillary Clinton gain access to highest classification SAP closed system access and able to transfer to remote home server? Most likely Brennan gave it to her and others. Now this should scare every single American because they were controlling everyone through blackmail. How did China locate CIA assets within China 187? Because they had the information from who? Hillary Clinton. Money buys power. No punishment. This is kill brackets, bold, Brennan by Hussein Admin. RE surveillance of Senate, etc. So why was there no punishment on the CIA? Because who was really running the government? Who was really running everything? The CIA. The non-elected leaders. It's confirmed. They were really running the government by controlling everyone through blackmail. Logical thinking. Why? Gave us a link to McClatchydC.com. Justice declines to pursue allegations that CIA monitored Senate intel staff. The Justice Department, and this is what the article says, has decided not to pursue accusations that the CIA spied on the Senate Intelligence Committee and allegations that the committee staff slipped classified documents from a secure agency facility. McClatchy has confirmed. Because the people in Department of Justice, they were all working with the CIA. They were all blackmailed. And the CIA controlled everything. So Q says the Justice Department declines to pursue. Fake news media limits the exposure to public. This brings in the mainstream media. They're also spied on and blackmailed and told what to say. And this way, there are no stories that are written about this. When did Snowden breach NSA and publicly release cripple intel gathering ability NSA? NSA targeted. Where did Snowden work prior to NSA contractor accept? So, according to Wikipedia, Snowden was hired and trained by the CIA before becoming an NSA contractor. So Snowden was already trained by the CIA and was put into the NSA contractor position on purpose. Why? Let's continue. What senior level government CIA official REC at Snowden for NSA contractor off TAR position? Well, TAR stands for Target Analyst Reporter. And after attending a 2006 job fair focused on intelligence agency, Snowden accepted an offer for a position at the CIA. The agency assigned him to the Global Communications Division at CIA headquarters in Langley, Virginia. Hayden was director of the National Security Agency from 1999 to 2005. On April 21, 2005, Lieutenant General Hayden was confirmed by the United States Senate as the first principal deputy director of the National Intelligence and awarded his 4th star, making him the highest-ranking military intelligence officer in the armed forces. On May 8, 2006, Hayden was nominated for the position of director of the Central Intelligence Agency. So Hayden worked for the NSA, worked for the CIA, and most likely Hayden recommended CIA-trained Snowden to work for the NSA. So Snowden was put there purposely to bring down the NSA. Post-public release of classified NSA material, Uranium-1. NSA spy tools released in May 2013, which was the Uranium-1 sale. Where is Snowden today? Russia. CIA tried to get rid of the NSA. CIA wanted to be the only intelligence organization. What country was involved in Uranium-1? Russia. If real target country was Venezuela or Ecuador, why didn't Snowden take a direct flight from Hong Kong to those locations? That's a good question. Let's continue. How many direct flights run daily from Hong Kong to Venezuela or Ecuador? Well, the CIA was helping Snowden, and he ran into a problem, and that's why he couldn't continue on his journey. There's a reason why they stopped off in Hong Kong first, and we'll get into that in just a minute. If Snowden was CIA NSA, would he not understand simple logic? Going public prior to end destination safely would limit active passport travel ability due to block deregulation? What happened was he went to Hong Kong to release the information. In Hong Kong, security officials put a hold on his passport. He was stuck in Hong Kong. Let me continue. Why wouldn't Snowden publicly release info after he already was safely at final destination? Well, the reason why he didn't do that is because they wanted all eyes off of his final destination and everything coming back to his final destination. Why then would Snowden route through Russia? Well, he actually got stuck in Russia because his passport was put on hold, and it looks like Brennan helped him get to Russia. Was Russia final destination? Maybe, maybe not. Was Russia true destination? Well, security did put a hold on his passport. Brennan helped him to get to Russia, so maybe Russia was his final destination. Could Snowden be seen releasing classified programs intel from inside Russia? No, because all eyes would be then pointed at Russia. They didn't want this to happen because they're the ones involved in the Uranium-1 scandal. What role did Brennan play in Snowden leaks? Brennan helps Snowden. He helped him the whole way. What was Brennan's background in Saudi Arabia? He was station chief in Saudi Arabia and director of National Counterterrorism Center. Does the CIA hold blackmail on political leaders? Yes. Does the CIA protect those who protect them? Yes. Why are ex-CIA contractors running for office? Infiltration of government. How many ex-CIA contractors are currently in office? Well, 1/4 of all Democrat challengers in competitive House districts have military intelligence, State Department, or NSC backgrounds. This is by far the largest subcategory of Democrat candidates. National security operatives, 57, outnumbered state and local government officials, 45, lawyers, 35. So there's a lot of people that are in the intelligence community. Infiltration of government. And then Q says, hello, brackets, AS. Is this Adam Schiff? Was Adam Schiff a CIA clown? Because Q just got finished telling us that most of the Democrats in there have a intelligence background. And then Q says, kill brackets, AS, Adam Schiff. Once an agent, always an agent. So we can see right now the government was run by CIA. They tried to bring down the NSA by using Snowden. And they used the Five Eyes to blackmail everyone. Post 2658. Q says, remember when D's and the fake news media, this is in kill brackets, all bold caps, plus fake wood, pushed mass fear that POTUS would start World War III, North Korea? POTUS, peace on the Korean Peninsula. No further missile tests or uranium enrichment. New narrative created. Refusal to provide coverage of successes. Remember when D's and the fake news media, fake wood, pushed a stock market collapse if POTUS was elected? POTUS elected, plus policies, largest gains recorded in market history. New narrative created. Refusal to provide coverage of successes. Use Fed to increase rates to counter growth and project POTUS blame. Remember when D's and the fake news media, fake would push complete economic collapse if POTUS was elected? POTUS elected, policies, lowest unemployment record in history, plus record jobs, GDP growth. New narrative created. Refusal to provide coverage of successes. Deploy and use racism, sexism, and every other ism to counter potential black, Hispanic popular support. Why do D's and the fake news media, fake would continually push the impeach narrative if impeachment requires 2/3 Senate vote to enact odds of that? Remember, they set up a firewall with the Senate, protecting the president. Do they push fake narrative to project a supposed supportable with evidence wrongdoing to their base? Confirmation bias? Accusations never supported by facts. Groupthink. The list goes on and on. Panic in D.C. Why? What was lost? Power of the purse. Commander-in-Chief of the United States military. Power to replace senior officials within crucial government positions. Who can they replace? Senior, middle, low? Positions trickle down. Replacement. Power to appoint Supreme Court justices. What if Hillary Clinton won and appointed 2+ crooked Supreme Court justices? The last resort. Power to directly undo Hussein's previous executive orders, which greatly limited the U.S. in many vital NEC ways. Power to rebuild the United States military back to global superpower. China payoffs, bribes, failure. Power to enact laws by executive order to combat and protect our people. Power to shift foreign policy, thereby reducing our enemy's ability to prosper and someday reign. Iran deal, Paris Accord, China trade, Syria. Power to declass crucial docs to provide the public with the truth, transparency. Power to give back power to the people as intended by our founders. Leader of the free world. So the fake news, the D's, they continually create these fake stories. When it doesn't go their way, they just rewrite the narrative and go in a different direction. They will never give Trump any satisfaction or say that he was successful, because their agenda is to have him gone. And you can see they're losing the battle. Post 2659. Trump gave a link to Real Clear Politics. And this is Dershowitz. Secret emails about underage sex allegations will put prominent people in handcuffs. Let me just read the first part of this. In an interview Thursday morning with Good Day New York, Alan Dershowitz pushed back against allegations that he had sex with underage girls through billionaire convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein. He said he's being framed and he has emails that will put prominent people in handcuffs. Well, we need to look at something very important. Let's look at the log of Lolita Express. This is the plane that brought people back and forth. And it's just not to the island. It brought people other places. Now, Dershowitz, his name is on this log. He is number 17. But you have to look very closely at the log because it lists the airports that he flew to. The airports that he flew to were BED and CYUL. So what is BED? Well, BED is Boston, Lawrence G. Hanscom Field. What is CYUL? This is Montreal, Pierre Elliott Trudeau International Airport. Nothing here shows that he actually went to the island. Now, who is Alan Dershowitz? Well, first, before we go into that, let's go back to Q's post, 1132. It says, this is April 11th, 2018. Thank you, Alan. Welcome aboard. Freedom. Post 1133. hashtag or pound 17 Q. Post 1137. And Anon says the following. Can you double confirm the number 17 was regarding the jerseys? When I asked yesterday for confirmation, Anons are bringing up every other 17 under the sun. Q says, Alan, welcome aboard. Plane 17. Q was telling us this was Alan Dershowitz. He was number 17 on the log. Who is Alan Dershowitz? He was the lawyer, and maybe still is the lawyer, of Jeffrey Epstein. That's why he was on the plane. Trump brought him in. Trump is using him. Remember, Trump uses these individuals for what he needs them for. Post 2660 puts everything from post 2579, 2502 on here, and down below, Q puts the following. And this is a Twitter link to Maggie, New York Times. Now, remember, Maggie Haberman is giving coded messages back and forth to Q. And this tweet says the following. There is no smoking on this train. If you're found smoking, we'll assume you're on fire and take the appropriate action, says the Amtrak conductor. Q says handler is the conductor. Q says smoking can be bad for your health. Read the warning label. Deboard train and walk away. Once in the tunnel, there is no going back. So this is messages going back and forth between Maggie Haberman and Q. Remember, Maggie Haberman is the spokesperson for Hillary Clinton. They push all their articles and everything that they want to say through her. And we know this because yesterday we looked at WikiLeaks and there was a little section in there where they're saying they were going to use Maggie Haberman of Political over the last year. We're going to push our news through there. And this was, coming from Hillary, and this was a WikiLeaks dump. So we know that she has a handler, and coded messages are going back and forth. Post 2661 put up a Twitter link from Maggie Haberman once again. People in White House sound as confused as everyone else about what happens after the president executive order, which McGahn was against him signing. There is interagency disagreement about what it means. Trump now essentially tunes his chief of staff out, Trump driving the train. Another tweet. OH on the Q train intercom. Attention passengers, the intercom phone is for emergency only. It is not for asking the conductor questions. A stone sits idle while the world around it evolves. Evolution, depending on the stage, can be deadly. Another tweet. There is no smoking on this train. If you're found smoking, we'll assume that you're on fire and take the appropriate actions, says the Amtrak conductor. Q says, we can talk through code or we can act through transparency. The choice is yours. However, the clock is ticking. Here's that reference to the clock ticking once again. And at a select point in time, that option will be expired. Regular service appointments should be made in order to maintain functionality. Basically, Q saying, listen, you come on over, take our offer, or once we go into the tunnel, that's it. We can't do anything about it. Post 2662 puts up a Fox News article. Joe DiGenova, Cardinal James Comey, the man who destroyed the FBI. It reads, the treachery revealed by Comey, Clapper, and Brennan requires accountability. That can only happen through a federal grand jury investigation headed by John W. Huber, the U.S. Attorney in Utah, who has been appointed to investigate the FISA criminality by the Obama, FBI, and Department of Justice. Basically, an article calling James Comey Cardinal, he's above the law, and the only person that can bring him down is a federal grand jury investigation headed by John Huber, telling us this is where all of this is headed. Post 2663 gave us the Sun.uk. This is Spy Secrets. Truth about CIA's illegal MK-Ultra mind control experiments using drugs, hypnosis, electronic devices revealed in sensational new documents officials hid for decades. The records rewrite the history of the CIA's covert and illegal MK-Ultra project, according to researcher John Greenwald Jr., who spent almost 20 years trying to obtain the documents. Disturbing details of secret mind control experiments carried out by the CIA have been revealed in newly released documents that officials have been trying to hide for decades. Q says below this, program development ongoing under offshore, not domestic tangent agency. So this is still going on, but not here in the U.S. They're out in other countries working on this. Covert funding, animals pointing to humans. Humans, 1988, 71% average success rate. Targeted mental criteria designated as brackets with a comma. Mental institutions and therapist. Program specialist. Cocktail regime 4 times daily brain intercept administered by Hint, and gave a link to ncats.nih.gov. Converting brain signals into action. The article reads, today, 8 million Americans are living with paralysis or have lost limbs. Many could benefit from technologies that would help them carry out daily activities, but high-tech prosthetics or other such devices are not always sufficient to meet these needs, particularly for those who are paralyzed. To improve the quality of life for these individuals, NCATS supported investigators at Pitt are exploring 2 different computerized chips that convert brain signals into action simply through patients thinking about the action. Think about this for a second. They're using mental patients. They're using people who have lost limbs, and they're placing a chip into their brain, and they can control what they do. Q continues, WIA military personnel targets of the program. They can use the vets who lost limbs for this program and then make them do what they want. PTSD plus, clandestine black ops, zero affiliation, something out of a movie, fiction, the hole is deep, saying that this is not fiction, this is not a movie, this is real life, and they're doing it today. Post 2664, Q gives us 3 tweets from Trump. With all of the success that our country is having, including the just released jobs numbers, which are off the charts, the fake news and totally dishonest media concerning me and my presidency has never been worse. Many have become crazed lunatics who have given up on the truth. The fake news will knowingly lie and demean in order to make the tremendous success of the Trump administration and me look as bad as possible. They use non-existent sources and write stories that are totally fiction. Our country is doing so well, yet this is a sad day in America. The fake news media in our country is the real opposition party. It is truly the enemy of the people. We must bring honesty back to the journalism and reporting. Compare and contrast. Ring a bell? Think drop yesterday. New narrative created. Refusal to provide coverage of successes. Why is this important? Sometimes making a connection leads to uncovering. Q. And remember, Q is talking about the post that was put out yesterday about the successes and how they continually create new narratives. Post 2665 put everything up from 2658. That was with all the fake wood and all those different things that Q was saying. Then put up the Twitter links. And this is all from an Anon, and down below it says, read the pics related together. So mirrory. A, U for Q. Under this it says, the reason why we are here, however, this is incomplete and missing the 3rd tweet. And basically what Q is saying, Q put this up about fake wood, and Trump put this up with his tweets. So they are mirrory. They mirror each other. Post 2666 put up Bing and showed us the search, and the search shows that recovering Ginsburg to miss Supreme Court arguments for the first time. And it goes down the list showing that these are all the articles about Ginsburg missing the court arguments for the first time. Q says, imagine that. What a coincidence. Post 2667 put up an article, and Anon put up an article, I should say, Ginsburg missing Supreme Court arguments for the first time. And the Anon said, "Morning, Q." And Q answered, "First time in more than 25 years. Morning, Patriot, Q." And this brings me to post 727. This was back February 11th, 2018. And this is the only time that Q referenced Ruth Bader Ginsburg by her full name. And post 727, it just says, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Q. This was February 11th, 2018. And here we have Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's holding on for life, or she's already passed away, which means that Trump will have the ability to put in a Supreme Court justice. That means they will have Kavanaugh and this new individual, which means they have full control. The clock is ticking. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.